I sat down to talk to Patrick Rothfuss about D&D, the new Rick and Morty comic, and also the Dark Ways.
They approached me, and I get asked to do a lot of cool things, and it's a nice position to be in. Part of the problem is, like, you want to do cool things when they get offered to you, and so it's like, like Vertigo reached out to me and they're like, hey, do you want to do a comic? And I'm like, oh man, with Vertigo? Like, the house that Sandman built? Like you do such good storytelling. I'm so flattered that you'd ask. And it's like, the New York Times is like, hey, do you want to write an opinion piece? And I'm like, yeah, like, boy, that would take me a long time to feel really comfortable with the piece of writing I was going to put in the New York Times on a subject that I care about. And so a lot of things I just have to say no to for one reason or another. But then this one came out and it's like, hey, we're going to do a Rick and Morty D&D comic. Do you want to write that? And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, yeah, I really do. Like, and I'm probably the perfect person for it because I really know D&D. And I mean, I haven't known Rick and Morty as long, but I caught that pretty early on, and I've obsessed about it a fair amount. And like, I have some things to say about Rick and Morty. Like, there's some brilliant parts, and there's some parts that are really dangerous, in my opinion. It's like including the fact that like Rick looks like such a hero, like a tragic hero, the sexiest kind of hero, right? Is the tragic hero. And I'm like, but like, that's not really what's going on there. He's not supposed to be an admirable character, but people are viewing him that way, and that's really unhealthy. So like, the chance to go in and play in this beautiful world. But that said, it's also gorgeous emotional beat storytelling in this silly ultra-violent sci-fi bullshit cartoon. Like the craft brought into this storytelling is amazing. And I've known D&D since I was in the 5th grade. And so like, the chance to kind of mix up the two, I felt like I had to say yes, because I didn't want to miss that opportunity. And it gave me the opportunity to really practice this collaborative storytelling, to not just have an illustrator or like to write something with someone, but to have a co-author, illustrator, there's colorers and letterers, there's like 3 or 4 editors on the project, and then beyond that, there's 2 different people who own the 2 different IPs. So Cartoon Network gets to look at what we write and then say, no. And so does Dungeons and Dragons. So does Wizards of the Coast gets to look at it and say, no, we don't want our brand represented in this way. So I'm like, if I can do this sort of collaborative storytelling, I can do anything. Because in my world, working on my books, like, my editor only changes a word if I say okay. And admittedly, I'm mental. I am truly obsessive. My editor and I fought on 3 separate occasions as to whether or not I was going to be able to spell gray with an E instead of an A, which went against the house style, right? And it's like, and I went to the mat for it. I'm like, no, gray with an E is different. And she's like, I have said no to CJ Sherry, that she could not. And if I say yes to you, what will that mean to her? And I'm like, we went back and forth, and I had to trade her something else to win that fight. So like, that's the amount of control I possess over my own work. And to go from that to, 6 collaborators and 2 people who can simply line item veto anything you write. It's been a real experience, but it's been a good one. The IP holders have been very good. I think a lot of that has to do with Jim Zub. He's really good at this process. He's really good at comics. He understands the scripting, and he has built up a good relationship with the D&D crew over the years. And I also like to think that you know, I've hung out with them a fair amount myself over the years, and like, I would hope that they would sort of trust me a little bit and know that if I was doing something and it seemed a little weird, there was a purpose. And if I poked a little fun at D&D, they would know that it's out of love. But that I'm sure of, because when I hang out and I do stuff at D&D, I sat in on one of the games that they regularly run. Like, I think it was like on Wednesdays, I was there consulting. That's sort of an open secret that I'm consulting on a project, although nobody knows about the project yet. And I was talking to Chris Perkins. He's like, okay, now we go and do this. He goes, now we go play a game. And I'm like, so you actually get together and you play D&D here? He's like, oh yeah. He goes, we play a D&D to like kind of like remember our roots. And so I got in this room and we all played AD&D, and I'm like, oh, and I rolled up a character, and I'm like, oh, the old ways, the dark ways, the no death saving throw, oh, you hit 0, you are for real done, put your character sheet away days, like the struggle to go from first level to second level days, like that is months of work going by the book, killing goblins, and the back when you got experience for getting gold days. And I'm like, and it was like all this old sense memory from back when I was a child.
When elf was a class.
When elf was a class, you know? And of course you wanted to play an elf, because that means you start and you get one spell, and you can wear armor, and you can use a sword. Like, so why would you ever be anything other than elf, even though it meant that your level cap was lower, you know? But who cares? Because you're first level, right? It's like, I want to survive. Just let me live for like 3 hours. So they're aware of their roots. They're aware of like some of the weird places that D&D has gone over the years. They're not precious about it. You know, they're constantly looking to do beautiful things, but they sort of they love D&D as well, but with like a genuine, honest love, which means you sort of love it warts and all, and you know that maybe my partner, you have done some embarrassing things in the past, but we can all grow and be better, you know. And I don't know, it's a great team to work with.
Thank you, Patrick Rothfuss, for being on D&D Beyond. I am Todd Kenrick. Thank you so much for watching.